Hi everyone! Today we are going to get started on our paper mache hot air balloons. This will just be our first day working on it. It's going to take about 3 different days to get it all the way done because there's a lot of drying that has to happen in between stages. So I'm going to start by telling you the materials that we need. So first of all, we need a balloon. This is just a 5-inch balloon. We need a cardboard tube like this, or you can tape together 2 toilet paper tubes to get a long enough tube. You need some masking tape. We also need some kind of heavy jar or vase or something. This is going to be to hold the project while you're working on it, because we'll hook the balloon onto the cardboard tube and it will go in here, and this keeps it from tipping over while you're doing work on it. We also need paper. Traditionally, you use newspaper for paper mache, but most people don't have that sitting around anymore. So another good option is packing paper, or you can just use plain white copy paper, and that will work too. The last thing you need for today is going to be paste, and we're actually going to make the paste, so I will show you how to do that in a little while when we get to that point. After the first couple of days, when we're ready to finish up, you'll also need some ribbon or string, and we're going to need a little paper cup, like a little Dixie cup. This is going to be the hanging basket for the hot air balloon. And that should be it. So we can go ahead and jump in and get started. Okay, so to start with our paste, we need half a cup of flour, we need 2 cups of cold water, and then we need 2 more cups of water that we will bring to a boil later. So to start with, we're going to put the flour and the water and the cold water together and stir them up. So come on in closer. So our half a cup of flour and 2 cups of cold water. And we're just going to whisk those together. All right. And now the next step is the other 2 cups of water we are going to do in kind of a, not a tiny saucepan, but a bigger saucepan. Because what we'll do is we'll bring this to a boil, and as soon as it comes to a boil, we're going to pour this in with it into the pan. All right, so our water's come to a boil. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to stir this into the boiling water. And we're going to let it come to a boil again. So this will just take a couple of minutes. All right, so we've got it to a boil again. So now we're going to take it off the heat. And now we're going to add in 3 tablespoons of sugar. So we're just going to pour it in there and stir it in. So it's all mixed through. And now we are going to wait till it cools off so we don't burn our fingers. That's it. All right, so it's going to take about 20 minutes for this paste to cool off enough to use it. It cools faster if you pour it into a bowl. So I would do that, kind of a wide bowl so that you can lay strips in it easily. But while you're waiting for it to cool off, you're going to do a couple of things to get ready. So one thing you need to do is cut up your paper into about 1-inch strips. They don't have to be exact, and it's totally fine if they're crooked and wonky, but about 1 inch And then you want a whole little pile of those. I'm going to push them over here. And this is Cricket, who's going to be my assistant, and you're going to be demoing some of this stuff for me. So cut up your paper into 1-inch strips, and then you're going to get your balloon and cardboard ready. So you can see this one, I taped the 2 toilet paper tubes together. So you'll stick this on top, and you'll need about 4 pieces of masking tape. So I've got those stuck back here. And you're just going to put one here, and then you're going to put one exactly across from it, like this. And then you're going to put one in between those 2. And one across from that. So you've got 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of tape. And then you're going to get kind of a long one, and it's going to wrap around the tube and around your 4 pieces of tape to kind of help anchor that. And then you just drop it in your jar. Let me do that for you. Okay, so now we each have a jar, and we are going to use this. This is still pretty warm, so we're going to be careful. But we are going to go ahead and start doing our paper mache. Now, one thing is, for today, we're only going to do 1 layer of paper mache because the first layer takes the longest to dry. It takes about a day to dry all the way. And if you keep piling more and more layers on top, it's going to take even longer, and the foundation won't be as strong. So it's going to be more likely to wrinkle up and maybe to even pull at the balloon too much, and the balloon's more likely to pop. So we just do 1 layer today, and then you're going to let it dry. And then you can come back tomorrow or another day, and you can do 4 or 5 more layers to get it as thick and strong as we want to in the end. So for today, we're just focusing on 1 layer. All right, so we're going to each do it so you can kind of see 2 different methods for this. But you're going to just dip it in. It's pretty warm, so be careful. And then you run it through your fingers like this so that all that gooey stuff drips off. And then you're just going to lay it on the balloon. And you're going to smooth it down. You're going to get wrinkles and bumps, and that's okay. Just smooth it as much as you can. So there we go, one strip done. Too hot. Alright. So don't do this too early. Make sure it's cooled off enough. We're going to start, I did just kind of an X on the top, but now we're going to start going next to the first strips that we did. And one other thing is we want to start making our strips go down just a little bit onto the cardboard tube. We want it to go about 1 inch-ish down onto the cardboard tube. So start down here. Like this. So you can see how it's coming down to about here. So we want to do that. You're just going to keep doing this until you can't see any more balloon. Try not to build up too many layers. We just want to keep it mostly a single layer with a little bit of overlapping until the whole balloon is covered up. So they're just checking for any blank spots, and it looks good. It looks like they are all covered. So now it's just waiting. So we're going to let these dry for a day, and we will be back to show you how to do the next step. Thanks. All right, it is the next day and our paper mache is pretty much dry. A little bit of a damp spot there, but good enough to go. So what we're going to do next is we're going to put on 2 more layers of newspaper, and then we'll do a 3rd layer of copy paper. And we're going to do that last layer just a little differently, but first we're going to do just 2 more layers of the newsprint that we have done. To keep track of your layers, if you want to keep track, it helps if you do each layer laying the strips a different direction. So like on this one, I did almost all of my strips vertical. So for my 2nd layer, I'm going to do most of my strips horizontal. And then for the 3rd layer, I'm going to go back to doing it vertical. That way I can keep track of what I've covered and what I haven't covered yet. Anything else?
I think so.
I think that's it. So we will just get started on that. All right, so now we are ready to start on our last layer. So the last layer we're going to use white copy paper because that will make it easier to paint over, and it's also easy to keep track of making sure we've got everything covered. The only thing different that you're going to do with the copy paper is that we are going to tear these strips instead of cutting them with scissors. And the reason we're going to do that is because it gives it softer edges that blend better instead of having a sharp edge that might start to poke out. So if you tear it the long way, it tears fairly easily and not too crazy. And that's it. And then you do it exactly the same way. You get the paste on there and you stick it on and smooth it down. And just do that until the whole balloon is covered with the white copy paper. Okay, so now we have white copy paper covering our whole paper mache, and make sure you do a little bit down here around the tube too. And this now just needs to sit and dry. And then the last thing we need to do is we're going to use these little bathroom cups, these little Dixie cups, to make our baskets. So paint doesn't stick to the wax covering on this very well, so we're going to cover it in the paper mache paste, just a smooth covering so that we can easily paint it next time. So just the same thing, get a piece of copy paper and you're going to just wrap it around. If you want to get fancy and try to make some kind of texture on it, you can, or you can just have it be smooth. But we're just going to cover up the cup. Let's do a piece of this one. There you go. So it's just going to be covered in paper mache so that we can easily paint it when it's all dry. And that is it. We are done for the day. We'll see you next.